all new episodes of Ben 10, Saturdays at noon on your Cartoon Network.
I went a little too deep. More like a scary show, I guess. Okay, what about this? This is something called Summer Camp Island promo.
Get ready, campers!
Okay, welcome Hisham, and nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Hisham, Egypt is becoming the fastest growing startup ecosystem in the Middle East and North Africa region. Startups in the historic city of Cairo, of course, are addressing gaps in the market, solving local problems, and ensuring entrepreneurship remains one of the most the thing that anyone can realize in Cairo. But today we would like to talk about the voiceover, as you do voice over. Could you tell me something new in Cairo about that?
VoiceOver has been around for like quite a long time, quite a few decades. Like VoiceOver, I'd say starting from 2014 perhaps, it started to become easier to work in the field because not just VoiceOver, any freelancing job, people like more and more freelancers started to show up, and they didn't have a way to receive money from abroad, foreign currency. Like we could pay for things abroad, but you couldn't receive money. But then the greater number of freelancers had a demand for that. So banks started providing this, based on demand, they provided this ability where through PayPal, for instance, you can receive payment. So therefore, specifically VoiceOver. I'll talk about my experience because it differs from person to person on how they start in VoiceOver and how that begins. VoiceOver can be started anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where you are. As long as you have the proper setup, you just buy the proper equipment. And of course, it's all about training. It's all about practice. Of course, you start with something simple. Like I could say I started with a cheaper microphone called the USB microphone. And then I upgraded to something called XLR, which is what professional studios use. And then every day you just keep taking courses from time to time. You take courses, you could take them locally if you have them, or you could take them abroad. The good thing about, I'm not saying the pandemic is a good thing, but one of the positives that came out of the pandemic is that people can take courses online, no matter where you are. Like I attend courses that are in Los Angeles, California, and I don't live there, which is a really good thing. I could benefit from teachers abroad. After COVID subsides, you would want to take more classes. You want to take acting classes to improve upon that. I was saying from a business perspective, as a voice actor, you're your own boss. You are managing everything for yourself. You're promoting for yourself. Eventually, you would want to have your own website where it has all your demos. It's just like if you're applying for a job and let's say you're a teacher, you have your resume or your CV. This is your resume. You have your website. Other than your website, you gotta use social media. Social media is a very important tool when you promote for yourself. Whether it's Twitter, it could be Instagram, it could be YouTube, it could be Facebook. Create a Facebook page. That will definitely help. Micromanage those pages. Be on top of things from time to time. Some people maybe want to hire someone to do it for them once their schedule becomes busy enough. But start on it on your own. Everybody starts from scratch. So yeah, it's marketing, and then of course it's connections. The more connections you make, like when you take several classes, you would get to know more voiceover veterans. And when you take classes, you get to know people that are like you as well, developing and maybe struggling to improve. So it's those kind of connections. Also, if you have connections locally, you start to get into the acting business. If you take classes locally, improv. I took 1 or 2 improv classes locally in Egypt. But of course, that was last year. Again, COVID might be a challenge, but it's not impossible. I could talk generally if you have a specific question about VoiceOver, or do you want to know more about my career and what I've done? Hello.
Actually, Hisham, I'd like to know. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, actually, Hisham, I'd like to know more about your job as a voiceover. I mean, why did you start? How did you start? I mean, I'd love to know more about your motivations, your challenges, because I know Cairo is a mega city. It's not easy, to come up from the bottom easily.
Exactly. Okay. what made me start to begin with, again, I'd have to go into the details of voiceover itself. It's voiceover or voice acting is acting. So just like any actor, it's all about putting yourself out there. So when I started, I actually didn't know where to start. Back in 2010, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea where to go, and it took me many years until I finally was able to sign up to a class, knew where I was, and knew where I had to apply. So I started discovering in order to market myself, for instance, I have to audition. Auditioning, I go to different websites. Let's say a website called Fiverr, if you've heard of it. Fiverr is for freelancers, generally speaking. You can put your demo, you put your information there, and you audition, and or people actually you don't audition from Fiverr. People come and hire you. So that's one source of getting work. Another source could be Twitter, believe it or not. Sometimes you go on Twitter and you find different tags, hashtags of voiceover jobs or casting calls, as they call them, where they're looking for work. That's where I could get some work as well. Another place, if somebody wants to, like, all of this is mostly not just in Egypt. This is just how you get work online. In Egypt, my challenge would be, I'll be honest, is the internet. The internet, the speed of the internet, the stability of the internet is a challenge. Like voiceover, I'm kind of separate from the Egyptian market because I don't fully depend on the Egyptian market. It's mostly connections, but connections where they might take someone over someone else, and you might be more qualified. That's actually not just in Egypt. That's everywhere. But voiceover is something I've always looked at from abroad. You work online. Uh, like it's because I don't do voiceover in Arabic. I'll be honest. I should, but I don't do it a lot. So that's why I don't know a lot about how it works in Egypt. But a living off of it. If that's what you're aiming at. That's going to take a long time. Like you start out with small income, small jobs here and there, and then you build your reputation bit by bit. You start with different kinds of jobs. Like I work sometimes in narration. I can narrate if it's an audiobook or maybe narrate a commercial. Commercials are what actually pay better than other jobs. Character work, if you, for instance, there's a video, an animated video, and they want to cast for a character, that's could be a small job depending on who's hiring you. Gaming work, same thing. It could be a small studio, it could be a big studio, it could be a small character, or it could be a big character. It depends on what you're being cast for. But again, if you want to make it in voiceover, you got to audition for everything. Try everything. Don't limit yourself, and it'll take time to improve. Some of the challenges I'm facing now is that I want to improve my setup, generally speaking. Like when you're recording for voiceover, if you want to be hired more, you need to have better acoustics, meaning the sound in your room needs to be suitable for recording. Like my room right now, it doesn't have any it doesn't have any proper padding or so on, or sound treatment as they call it. But that's a step I'm willing to take. But for now, many people, and I've seen professionals do this, they tend to record in their closet. I'm not exaggerating. And it does work. They tend to use blankets. That's what I do. And it does work until I can get a better setup. So you can use what you have. Even some people, when they're on the go, let's say they're in a hotel and they want to record a job, they can do that. Sometimes they just literally get the blankets and pillows and make some kind of small dome and they put themselves in it and they record. And it works to a certain degree.
Mr. Hisham, did you try that? The one on the blanket?
In a way, I do use blankets, yes, and blankets do work, yes. I can confirm that.
Interesting.
But the only problem is that it gets really hot in there. So in summer. So yeah, but it works. Yeah, it is. That's the good thing. Like when you talk about voiceover, you can't just say I'm from this country and that's it, because it can work anywhere in the world as long as you have the right equipment, the right training, of course, which takes time, and an internet connection. You have a stable internet connection, and you're able to receive money online, then that can help you like a lot. So basically what I'm doing now is I audition whenever I can. And another important aspect is a major challenge to every actor, not just voice actor, is that all 98% of us have double jobs. I'm not just a voice actor. I work as a school teacher in the morning. So throughout most of the day, I have paperwork, I have things to do. But again, I have voiceover on the side. So it takes time for you to transition if you want to do voiceover full time. that's going to take, and I'm not kidding, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, depending on how fast or how much you build your reputation, how skillful you become at what you do. And yeah, so for you to do both at the same time, that happens a lot. Like I've known voice actors like that are successful, they're in big shows, but at the same time, one of them, he was working as a real estate agent and he was doing voiceover. I'm a school teacher and I'm doing voiceover. Another thing that can help you in this field is respect. It's very important to respect whoever. Oh, we didn't go with you. We don't want to hire you for this role. We're going to take someone else. The way you respond makes a big difference. If you tell them, I thank you very much for that, and I wish you the best of luck on your project. Some people might take it too personally, and they might be, oh, why didn't I get cast? No, that's not being professional at all. You should take it professionally. You should take it. Voiceover work, there is always jobs, I'm sorry. There's always enough work for everyone. There are always new jobs. There's always a new audiobook to be recorded. There's always a new commercial. So let me talk specifically like what successes I've had so far. One of them, for instance, was through connections. I became friends, for instance, with an Australian voice actress, and they had a casting call to record something called Walla. Walla means the background sounds or people that are talking in the background in a movie, for instance, not the main characters. So I was like, can I apply? I'm from Egypt. She's like, yeah, sure. So I applied, and there were 100 of us that applied, and all of us were taken into Walla, and our voices were placed into a movie, an actual movie. I mean, there's a movie that's coming out. It was supposed to come out this year, but COVID-19 postponed it. But anyways, yeah, I succeeded in getting my voice in a movie called Loveland, and it has the legendary Hugo Weaving in it. For those who don't know Hugo Weaving, he did the character called Agent Smith in the movie The Matrix. So yeah, that's one thing. Another thing, I've done probably 2 commercials. One of them locally in Egypt, a car commercial. Another one in a car battery company in Nigeria. So that's also the fun thing about it. You don't just work locally. Like you could hear your voice like 1,000 miles away in a completely different country, which is something really interesting and really brings the world together in a way. I know, like, that's something I really believe in. Like, you can bring voice actors from different parts of the world with all the different kinds of work. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience. It just takes constant practice, constant dedication. There's so many details of what voiceover is that people don't understand. Like, unfortunately, some people think that, voiceover, so you do cartoon characters. Not necessarily. So you do voices. No, I don't. I act, I perform, but it's just simply with my voice. That's like so many people, you would know their voice, but you wouldn't know their face. Like, let me give you an example. Let's say back in the 1990s and early 2000s, there was a very famous movie trailer voice. I can't copy him right now. The guy that usually does In a World, that guy, the people heard him. You definitely heard him if you grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. His name was Don LaFontaine. So people know his voice, but they don't know his face. So that's just another example. It's a very isolating job that you're always in a booth. You're not always with someone you're recording. You're always on your own. But that's one of the that's how the job works, basically. But it's also, people see it as very comfortable, because if you record from home, you could literally record in your pajamas. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Hisham, there's another question. I think this question is more technical. I'd like to know what kind of equipment or software you use for this kind of a job.
Okay, sure. I'll tell you how I started out. First thing I did, which was many years ago, I started with a normal desktop microphone, and of course it was terrible quality, but it was a start. The first program I used because I brought my own videos and I started to add my voice to it, was Movie Maker. Everybody has Movie Maker, and I taught myself how to use it with practice. Some people might be like, how did you learn it? YouTube. YouTube is your best friend. Google is your best friend. I'm not exaggerating. Then bit by bit, I upgraded to a better program called Cyberlink Power Director. That's for video editing as well. I used to use for audio recording something called Fox Audio Recorder. Then, let's forget about all that. I upgraded and went to the next level. I got a microphone called the Yeti USB mic by a company called Blue. It's plug and play. You plug it in, it works right away. And then I started using an audio recording software, which I still use until now, called Audacity. It's free. It's really easy to use. It's user friendly, and it's amazing. I've actually done a lot of work with Audacity. You can edit audio and record with Audacity. Video editing, eventually I improved to Adobe Premiere Pro. That's if you're required to video edit, but that's not really a necessity in VoiceOver, but it's a skill that will definitely help you. So primarily I use Audacity, and the equipment that I have now is a microphone called the CM25 XLR mic, and it's a bundle with the preamp. It's a Focusrite 2i2, second generation, because usually like there's a preamp where you plug in the microphone and then the microphone plugs into your computer. It's not direct plug-in like a USB mic, like the Yeti. This is much more advanced. Yeah, so, and of course, my blankets in my closet, which is what I use for acoustics. So yeah, that's my setup. Audacity and the recording. And of course, the most important tool of all, my voice. And the number one thing to prepare yourself for a voiceover is you got to drink enough water. And I tell you, for instance, 2 hours in advance. Like if you want to go into the technicalities of voiceover, like why do we have to drink enough water? For instance, sometimes when you record, you'd hear clicking sounds. Like, what are these clicking sounds? It's usually a lack of water in your body. This lack of water makes your tongue cause clicking noises. You don't want that in your recording. It's going to ruin it. So somebody's like, oh, I'll drink a bottle of water right now and record. No, bad idea. It takes time for water to thing is warming up before a session. Before I start recording, I tend to do warm-ups like tongue twisters. Like if you're familiar with the tongue twister, seashells on the seashore, I do things like that. It helps me to get the dialogue flowing, to get you warmed up and make your voice and your tongue ready to perform whatever it is you're going to perform. Usually the one I do, if you want to know it, is Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. If a peck of pickled peppers, Peter Piper picked. Wait, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers, Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Yeah, I start off slow and then speed it up and then speed it up and then speed it up and then I'm right into it, because you can't just jump right into recording. It's just like going to the gym. You can't go in and start lifting weights once you enter the gym. No, you got to warm your muscles up. So the voice is a very sensitive muscle, if you may. It's very sensitive, and you have to warm it up for the process itself. So yeah, I don't want to go off topic. I'm just, yeah, that's what I do so far. Okay, I can't hear you. I think you're muted. There you go.
Yeah, these are perfect tactics drinking water. Are there any tricks or tips to recommend as a startup? I mean, or as a young professional, as a voiceover?
Definitely. I'll tell you, anybody can do it. Don't listen to people that tell you, oh, you have to be talented. No. Oh, you have to have this kind of voice. Some people, they think because you sound amazing, you could work in voiceover. That's not how it works. Anybody can do it. You just need to practice. As long as you're willing to do it. And ask yourself, why are you doing it? If you're doing it because you want to get famous, this is not for you. But if you're doing it because you really love the job, you love the idea of performing so many different situations, not just characters, sorry, then yeah, you can go for it. So it's all about that you're willing to put in the work. You're willing to really audition and put yourself out there. You're willing to spend some money. Yes, it's an expensive field. You're willing to spend money on those classes. You're willing to spend money on the equipment. But again, nobody starts from day one with an XLR mic. That took me about 7 years until I got to that point. I started with a normal mic. You can start there. I'm not a perfect actor. I started knowing nothing about acting, and now I'm a little better. I'm still working on it. But again, you're still learning. Sometimes I attend classes with some of my teachers that are learning alongside us, and they're in their 60s. So it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. You can do voiceover from whichever part of the world you're in. You just need to start and go for it and practice and keep trying every day. And you will get there. It just takes time.
Perfect. Could you tell us something? Could you say something? I mean, how you want to make sure how your voice sounds like?
How my voice sounds like? Well, I'm not using my professional microphone right now, so it depends on what you want to hear. I mean, I mean, sometimes I do character work, sometimes commercial work.
Okay, I want something like insects or animals.
Animals. Well, if it's asked for, yeah, I go for it. Like you would, I mean, I don't think I've actually no. You just reminded me a few days ago. There was a character that was a dog, and the script for this dog, literally, he has no normal conversation. He doesn't say words. The entire script was the dog making sounds like ow, 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 ow. It's like ow, and then he has to sound surprised, and then he has to do an attack. It's like ow, 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 stuff like that. So you gotta just put it in there, like get into becoming a puppy. And sometimes if you want to get inspiration for this is an example, you would literally watch videos about puppies and see how they talk, how they move, how they make sounds. Actors actually do this. Like if, for instance, if you've seen the movie The Hobbit, if you've seen that giant dragon that talks, the actor went to the zoo and he looked at alligators and he looked at reptiles and how they move and he started to mimic them. So yeah, it really helps to try to get into the characters. If you're a dog or if you're a reptile, maybe try to sound like a snake. If it's a snake-like character, maybe, or if you're gonna be a big guy, like for instance, if you guys seen Guardians of the Galaxy, Vin Diesel, he does Groot. Groot is a very big tree. He literally in the booth they put something that he can stand on, so he can feel taller and feel like it's like I am Groot, stuff like that. So, and the important thing is, I just remembered, is the physicality of what you're doing. Like right now, if I just sit here and say I am Groot, okay, no, try to get into it. I am Groot, and you move with your body to feel what's happening. Like movement really does make you live out that character. So yeah, inspiration from others, inspiration from something. It's all about reacting to the situation. Yeah, that's just more than what you asked for. Again.
Is there anything you want to
add? Nothing much. I just hope more and more people will understand what voiceover is, how it works, how much work is put into it, because it's not a simple job. Like if you're recording, let's say a 100-page novel or 200-page novel, that takes a long time. Like if I give you a paragraph and tell you to read it, and you're going to read it once, but can you read it perfectly without any grammatical mistakes? Can you read it without any like, let's say, mispronunciations, or you want to redo it again? No, nobody's perfect from the first take. So you got to do it again and again and again until you get it right. You're ready to go through that pressure. I just wish people would realize it's not impossible. It's not just cartoon voices. It's not just changing your voice. It's a job. It's work. But it's a passion that you've got to be willing to really sweat for it. As they say, blood, sweat, and tears. That's what it takes. That's what it takes to get there. You got to keep grinding until you really make it to a better opportunities. So yeah, it's just like any job, but you just got to really put in the work. Yeah, I'm repeating myself. So yeah.
Okay, Hisham. I think this is very interesting to know. Thank you so much, Hisham, and I'm looking forward to see you again.
No problem. You too. It's my pleasure.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Okay, see you, bro.
All right, see you. Take care. Bye.